Hello there, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, no matter where you're calling from. It's great to see so many of you joining in today's session. Um, and a lot of new names today as well. I love seeing the registrations for this sheet because you have a lot of regulars coming back to these monthly sessions. But yes, if you are new here today, welcome. It's great to see you in our feature updates webinar for, of course, November 2024. And if you are one of those many familiar, friendly names, welcome back. It's great to see you continuing to come back. This has been a busy month. It's been a busy month. And actually, there's lots of stuff that you may have already noticed is out within your Waybook account. There is actually a lot more coming by the end of this month as well, which will allude to some of that. So for those of you who have or haven't been to these sessions before, let's just do a quick recap in what happens here. So for those of you who I've not had the pleasure of meeting, my name's Mike. I'm one of the co-founders here at Waybook. And over the next 30 or so minutes, we will go through the fundamental updates in your Waybook account. Part of this is just making sure that you have everything you need to maximize on your Waybook within the business. And also, we love doing this to just hear more feedback, thoughts, any kind of reflections or shares that you want to make about Waybook so we can continue to make it more powerful for you and your team. Now, we like to keep these sessions as interactive as possible. So the few ways to do that are using the chat. So please feel free to open up the chat now. We have the fantastic Sophia in the background, and Sophia is able to kind of ask and answer any thoughts or questions that you've got. Please feel free to just message in the chat and say who you are, where you're calling from. I know from the names I do recognize, we've got people from spread all across the world today, which is amazing. The other ways to get in touch, we do have the Q&A panel. So if you wanted to open up that Q&A tab, you can ask any questions you've got there. And if you choose either the chat or the Q&A, we will, of course, try and incorporate as much of that as possible. So hi, Emily from Iowa. We've got Daniel from Ohio. Obviously, we've got Sophia there from Oxford. I'm here in London. And it's 5 o'clock with me. So with the time of year, it's already dark outside. So I hope many of you have more sunlight wherever you're calling from. But without further ado, let's just jump into what we're covering today. We've got a lot to get through, and the fundamentals are we're going to start with a big one, and that is the approval process. Approval process is something that we've been working on for a while. It's quite a pro feature. It is actually slowly rolling out to teams. And if you see it and you're like, yes, I want it, let us know and we'll get it turned on for you immediately. We also then have high priority documents, additional filtering on published documents. We're enhancing how you do comments on collaborations. We're also enhancing how you can look from a reporting perspective, and we've got more reports for you and also the ability to export all of those reports as well. We're also doing more enhancements, and we've done more enhancements from the AI creation perspective. And also, I just want to kind of run through a couple of these things because we find that there's so many little tips and tricks and hidden gems within Waybook that sometimes just seeing it makes it much easier to follow through. So without further ado, let's jump straight into approval process. Now, if you tuned in last month, you'll know that what we did was updated the review cycle. And actually, the reason why these two are together is because they're somewhat related, but they are very different. And the reason why we wanted to do a review cycle was really to increase the ease of both creation, approving, checking, publishing, more from a kind of tracks and compliance perspective. So I'll share with you exactly what that is. Now, this isn't a very enhanced version of the review process. So we know that this isn't relevant for every document or perhaps even every team. The review process really does manage a lot of that, but this is really that enhanced version. What it actually is it enables you to create a customizable approval workflow on each individual document. That means that once you make an edit, instead of just publishing different versions, you can actually go through a systematic approval process and get the sign-off and compliance you need. It's fully automatic. It's managed fully automatically. You kind of set it up once and then it just works for you, and it's all fully tracked and ready for compliance. Now, this is available in your document settings, which I will share with you soon, and this is available on all Pro accounts. As we said, this is an enhanced Pro feature. But let me actually just share my screen and give you a little sense of what it is. So if we go into this account here, you'll be very familiar with this one by now. We can jump into any of these documents. Now, as you know, if we go into the edit mode, it's very easy for us to kind of make these changes. And once we make these changes, we can then push them through the review cycle or the review process. So, we might need Elle and let's say Flavio to sign it off and approve and whatever. If we put that review out, we'll see the document is in review, and anyone can then come in, open the review. If it's been sent to you, you can confirm the review, or I can actually cancel or re-request a review. And then once we've done that, we can actually then publish those changes. And those changes will then essentially get stored within the version history. We'll see that everything was kind of tracked and who's done that review. So that is essentially how we do the review cycle. Now, the reason why I'm showing that is for us to better understand the distinction between the review and the approval process. And the approval process lives in here. So if we go into the settings, we go into the approval process. And let's say this is a particularly sensitive policy or procedure or piece of information that touches a few departments, touches a few different people. What we can do is we can actually turn on a review process for each individual document. And what I'm going to do here, let me just start this again. We can actually then just create whatever stages, however many amount, whatever amount, and for whoever we believe. So let's create the first one, and let's say we just need a department lead check. So let's say as soon as I'm the document owner, as soon as I've written and drafted this before publishing, I need, let's say Sophia, because she's obviously on the call. Sophia needs to go through that and she just needs to approve it. Then the next stage is, let's say we need a kind of, let's say a HR confirmation. And actually within that, we can decide anyone from any of your HR group or your manager group or regional group, whatever that may be, can approve it. Or actually, let me just say I'm going to go in as that. And then we can also just put on another one. So let's say we've got a kind of legal check or CEO check or whatever that may be. And you can actually add whoever else you want in that. So let's say we'll put Luke down for that there. Now, again, you can have multiple people and anyone can sign it off, or you can add groups. But once we've saved that approval process, that now lives on that document. And once it's on, it essentially means that as we make a change to the document, instead of having that publish button where we can choose to do a review, we can then only actually submit it for approval. Now, of course, any admin or anyone with publish access can actually turn off the approval process. But the ideal here is that we decide what ones need to be on, and unless somebody has publish access, it always goes through. It always goes through this. So now, let's say we've made these changes, and actually we'll kind of like add in that new content, and I'm going to now submit this for a review. So once I submit it for review, it will show me what stages are required for that. And I can actually add these in. So I've updated for 2024. You can be specific with what you want, but Waybook will do that for you. And now what we'll do is this document will now be in an approval process. And you'll see here, it will have show me from the nav view, it will be in that. We can look from a management doc perspective. So I can actually have a look at all of the documents that I need to approve or are in an approval process. But if we jump back in, you'll see that actually the default state here is actually in a diff view. And what that means is we can see the difference between the previously published version and this published version. So when someone's reviewing it, they just look at what's green in terms of what's been added, what's red in terms of what's gone. And then we can actually go into review the status. So now we can see here, I've gone in, I can see these stages which I've set out, and we can see here that actually in the background, Sophia has already approved that. She said, yep, this looks great. She's confirmed it. It's gone on to the next step, and that is the HR check, which actually is me. So now, as this moves through the process, people will now get a notification to say, hey, Chuck, can you approve this document? Once you come into it, once it's your turn, you can approve or reject. You can review it, we can add additional feedback, and then once we approve that, it will then just go on to the next stage. Now, once that's all reviewed, it will then be approved, and all of that, I'll cancel this process for now. All of that will then live alongside that document, and it can then be published. And of course, that full approval process and all of the comments and whatever else is tracked within that document version. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is essentially the full approval process. We know that speaking to some people that have various different levels of ISO compliance or HIPAA compliance, that you do need this kind of additional level of kind of consideration across your documents. And that is, in a nutshell, what the approval process is. So just looking at the questions. So Emily, you've said what shows to a user when a document is being updated or in the approval process. That's a great question. So from a reader perspective, the reader will only see the latest published version. So say, for example, we've made these changes and we are in a, I turned it off, but let me turn it back on. Say that we're in this approval process. If I go in back into reader mode, you'll see that it will just be that last published version. So as a reader, I won't see anything different, exactly in the same way as you've got other changes within that. For anybody else that perhaps isn't part of that approval process, they will be able to see, if they have the edit permission, they will be able to see that it's in approval. They'll be able to see who it's waiting for, where it is. The system will remind that person. But if you've got the publish access, you can then always cancel that approval process and kind of make edits and start it again should you wish. So people won't know that this is happening. It will always have the previous version of it. If you did want to notify that actually the document is then no longer up to date, you can always switch that to a draft, or you can actually also enable the document verification. And that document verification, let's say we set that every year, we can essentially then just not have that document verified. And for the user, that will then just look like that is a non-verified document until it's been through the approval process and you verify it on that side as well. So I hope that answers your question. These are actually separate systems, so the approval process can work for the final publishing, and the review cycles and the review processes are almost a bit more ad hoc. Can you just look at this? Can you let me know what you think of that? And of course, you've got all of the comments for engagement in or outside of the review process as well. So that hopefully brings you a lot of what you want in terms of that approval process. Again, I'll keep my eye on the chat and on the Q&A, because I know that kind of might pique some questions. If you did want it on your account, again on pro accounts, let us know. We're slowly rolling this out just to make sure we're getting lots of feedback and making this really perfect as it goes through. So from a big feature, let me just go to a small feature that can actually have quite a big difference. And this actually is what we're calling high priority documents. Now, the reason why we chose to do this was because we realized that actually when you're creating documents, sometimes there is a slight overwhelm in terms of all of the to-dos when creating your document. And really, we're looking at supporting the creation of your Waybook from like a management or an optimization perspective. So what this essentially is the ability for you as an admin or an editor to actually decide what should be marked as high priority, and actually will then be able to make sure that you can manage and prioritize your team members based on what is needed for that document. So I'll show you what that is. The way that actually is it will signal it on the left-hand side, on the left-hand navigation, and also in your document manager that these are your priority documents. And this is actually accessible to all teams. You can enable it when you create a new document, and you can also then edit that within your document settings. So let me just jump back in and give you a little view in terms of what that is. So if I jump back into this, and let's say we want to create a new document. So let's say new document for let's say customer. Now in this, we've got all of the core ways of creating our document. So importing, creating with AI, building templates, starting from scratch. Whoever creates documents is then automatically assigned as the owner. And then you can manage that ownership by actually either adding or removing different people. And of course, with owners, you can have multiple owners should you wish, whereas a verifier, you only have one. Now, on these documents, you can then decide what is high priority, and you can just enable that with a simple toggle. And there you'll see that this is the high priority tag. So the idea is once you're creating or perhaps adding new documents to be created, you can just add them to the right owner, choose which 2, 3, 5 are high priority, and essentially that person will then be able to go into their document manage, and in their manager, you can basically start to look down at what documents do you own. So let's say, what documents am I an owner of? And also we can add another filter on there in terms of the documents that are high priority. And this will essentially show me all of my high priority documents. Let's let's make that an and there. So the high priority documents that I own, and that's actually a great way of keeping all of your creators, all of your editors focused and easily seeing what they should do in order to have the biggest impact on growing and scaling out your Waybook. So that is your document high priority. Again, available in all accounts. It is available now, so you can actually get access to that and start using that instantly. Now, another part of this, so this goes a little bit further in terms of making sure that you and your team, the contribution and the editing team, can really easily see what there is to do and where your content is. You can actually now do additional filtering on your left-hand side. The reason why we thought this was important to do this was to enable you to have a quick access filter and navigation across your Waybook, so you can always see in a snapshot and quickly get to the things you want. So what this actually is an additional filter on the left-hand navigation, and you can access this on all accounts in edit mode when you click on the eye icon. So we'll just again jump into this document here and show you what that actually looks like. So the other side note here, actually, you'll see if there's a document you need to verify, need to approve, anything like that, as well as the notifications, which you'll have in your notification center and email. You'll also have that on your editor dashboard as well. Now, whilst I'm in edit mode, I can then just click on this eye icon and we can start to say, okay, well, look, where are all of my archived documents? And it will just show me where my archived documents are. Alternatively, I can say, well, I only want to look at my published documents, or perhaps I only want to look at my documents that are in draft or that are template documents or whatever that may be. And essentially, this is just a great way of you being able to, if you're in your account for a particular reason, perhaps managing your templates or focusing on the drafts or whatever else, you can just access and toggle that really easily. Now, this useful notification up here is always on if you're seeing a filtered view of your left-hand nav, so you don't get into this position where you think you may have accidentally lost or misplaced any of your documents. You can just hit that and you see the standard view again. So that is your high priority document. That is something that's in there and something that you may not need until you need it. And then you can say, aha, I know how to find that. Now, another thing, and you'll notice that we've really focused this month on making it much easier for you as an editing and a collaboration team, is that we've done quite a lot of enhancements when it comes to comments. Now, the reason why we wanted to do this was because speaking with some of you, we realized that actually when you're looking at a document, you're collaborating with your team members, we found that a lot of people were almost losing the context, closing the comment tab, having to reread the document, losing where it was. And then also we noticed that people are really using the comments, and sometimes it's easier to lose track of what comment you're replying to and things like that. So what this actually is a multitude of different enhancements and optimizations. One of them is, firstly, you can see all of your approval cycles, review requests, anything that goes against the editing and collaboration of your documents. You can see that within your comments tab. And then the other thing that you can do here is you can actually maintain your comments when closed. Now, this was a very almost an oversight from our perspective, where we didn't quite realize how important this was. And I'll show you exactly what that looks like in just a moment. And then also we have much better maintenance of whether you're on your all or your current step. This will all make sense when I show you in just a moment. And the big thing here is very soon we will also have threaded comments, which will kind of really optimize and move this forward. So all of these changes and the additional changes, they're all available in edit mode in your comment and activity feed. And actually, that is, again, available on all accounts. So let me just jump back into this account. Again, if I go into the edit mode, let me just delete that document. If I go into my edit mode and I look at this document, you'll notice that the comments and activity is where all of this information lives. So this information is for everything across the document. Now, we can also just look at the conversations that's relevant for this individual step. And as I go between these different documents, you'll see here that it will only be for those steps. So remember, you can toggle between all and current step. So now I can say, hi, Sophia, can you review? And then maybe I just want to go back here and say, right, well, the standardizing process. And this will save your previous state. Previously, if you got lost and lost those comments, you'll be able to do that. And then if I kind of put that in there, now, once again, I can either be focused on that current step or, of course, on that all step. And actually, if something is on a current step, it will also be on all, but you can literally just toggle and focus that down. Now, the final part here is if I reply to that, your replied threads are more connected as well now. So actually, if I say just hello to that, you will actually see the comment, and it will kind of take you to that step and to that comment. Once again, that's going to be optimized even further when we starting threading the comments, which is coming very soon. So if you are using your documents for collaboration, then hopefully you'll already have started to feel the improvements within that. And if you do have any other thoughts or questions on that, please do let us know, because it's something we're really excited to see a lot more people using a lot more often, and we're keen to continue to optimize that. So just looking at the chat there, we got the question: does this mean all steps in that document, or all steps in all documents? Yeah, this current this all is basically on your document. So if I close down your left-hand nav, all of your comments and activity feed are exclusively for this individual SOP. We will be able to see in between each version what approvals, what comments, what everything you've got, who's made those changes, when they're published, things like that. And of course, you can look at that on each of your individual documents. And this basically means that you can have a different management team, a different conversation, and really focus down on the communication that you have around the content that's important. Okay, cool. So thank you very much for that. Let's move on to exporting insights. Now, you may have noticed, if you spend some of your time in the Waybook reporting, that actually there are increasing number of reports coming into your Waybook. We're really excited about the additional reports which we're continuing to put out. And we've actually noticed that more people are asking for the ability to have additional information in reports and also additional data on the export. So what you can now do is you can now do a full data export of all of your reports. This is available on all of your reporting activity, and it is available in all Pro accounts. So just jumping into that to give you a very quick view on that. If we go into the reports here, you'll start to see actually some of the new reports that have gone in. So not only can you use the report builder, where really you can create any custom report you want. That's looking at subjects or a learning path or members or particular subjects or particular documents, breaking it down by any type of document or member. So we can see who's seen what, when they've last seen it, how many times they've seen it. Now, of course, you can save any of these reports, so you can literally just jump back into your save reports. And now those save reports can actually all be exported as a CSV. Now, in addition to you having the flexibility to build whatever you want, you can also do that from a search matrix perspective, which is a new progress matrix. And this basically means if you've got a clustering of documents and a group of people that needs to see it, you can actually just see what access, what progress, and where they are within that information as well. Now, you've also got things like your member insights, content insights. There's a new one which actually has come out in literally in the last day. This is actually your creator insights for your editors and your contributors. And as you'll see, the main update here is that as well as that more information continues to go into this, you can export all of that as a CSV as well. So let me just jump into back into this. I'm just keeping my eye on the chat because we've got some great questions here. So is there a way to search in Waybook within a certain document? For instance, if we create a dictionary, will we be able to search only in there versus all of the Waybook? So currently the search and the ask will search for your whole Waybook. Now, what you'll notice is that because of the intelligent search which lives within Waybook, you will typically have a very strongly prioritized list. Of course, that search is only on what you have access to. Now, if you're trying to find within a particular type of document, then you don't actually have to have perfect words within your search. You can basically just look for your keyword and perhaps the reference point of the rest of the document, and it will be able to find down to those core areas. So I hope that answers your question on the search. So now let's just move on to AI creation enhancements. So when we're looking at your AI creation enhancements, we know that there's loads of people that are actually creating more content utilizing AI. And actually, there is a fine line here between creating great documents and creating just a lot of text that actually creates more work for you moving forward. So what we've made changes to with all of our stuff is all of our AI capabilities is firstly adding additional context from your AI settings, and also making sure that your documents are better broken down into additional and logical steps. And where possible, you can also utilize the step the step breakdown, which I'll show you that the split step in just a moment. So how you can do this is available from within your AI Creator menu within the left-hand navigation in your edit menu. And again, this is available on all accounts. So let me just show you that briefly. If I jump back into this, and perhaps I'll start with if I go into the AI Creator, Structure Creator, and let's say create a playbook for a legal practice. Now, I'll start with this because there has continued to be optimizations with this. Now, I know many of you would already have your structure and everything that you have within that. Oh, actually, sorry, I've actually done that in the wrong one there. So if you're creating your structure, so this is saying write a playbook for a legal practice. Now, this will, of course, build out your structure of your Waybook. If you've already got your structure, you can actually come in and ask for a very specific thing. So if the next thing for you to create is your marketing handbook or your perhaps kind of office handbook or your employee manual, whatever that may be, you can just ask for a very specific part of that. And actually, as we kind of go in here, you can just untick the subjects and documents and steps and whatever else that you want to put in. So now that obviously is created by AI and puts this in here. But let's now just jump into what's been optimized from an individual document creator. Now you can, of course, create that automatically. Waybook will automatically brief this if you've created the document from the structure creator. And also for a legal practice, you can also add in your settings more information about the business, your tone of voice, things like that. And the Waybook AI will start to build that out. Now, you'll notice that the documents it's producing are continuing to improve, and actually these will be splitting between steps. Now, in a lot of scenarios, these will actually form out more comprehensive documents the more specifically you brief them. But if, for example, you ever want to split these down, the kind of the simple button that saves a lot of time here is if you click on your six dot menu, you can click split step, and then it'll actually just split that step and move everything after that node or that part of content to the future, to the next step. And actually, this is a really 1-2 click option of just building out your Waybook. Now, the final optimization from an AI creation enhancement perspective is actually on your test creation. So if you wanted to create a test with AI, as you probably know, Waybook will read your document, prioritize the most important things to test your team on, and actually then create multiple choice questions for your team. Now with the Waybook AI creation, it will create more questions with more variety, providing that there is enough information in the document. If it's a very thin document, like this one, you can see here it's only produced these 3 questions. But if you've got a full procedure or a core piece of information, it can produce multiple questions that you can then either edit, remove, or actually choose to create a subset. So people actually will only do, 5 of these 10 questions or whatever that may be. So, ladies and gentlemen, that does take us to the end of our fundamental pieces that we're covering today. We're really excited to keep on getting more and more into your account. And you can see we've done lots of changes from an editor, from a management, from a creation perspective. We have a lot in the works that we're incredibly excited about. One thing is that we do have the comment threading and a few other enhancements coming. The big thing we're working on that we're incredibly excited about is AI file context. So I will leave that to your imagination in terms of what that could be. But watch this space and come back next month because we have probably one of the biggest releases that's happened within Waybook that we are so excited about how it will entirely change your both creation of content, the background context of your information, the information that your team can access, and also how valuable this can be for your individual teams as well. There's also much more from that's coming out into your Waybook. So if you ever need anything, please do reach out to the team. The team is always on hand to answer any questions you've got. We really love to hear your thoughts, and we're just excited to continue to grow with you as well. So I can see there's a couple of questions in the chat, so I will hang around for questions, and I invite many of you to ask any other thoughts or share any other thoughts or have any other questions that you have as well. But this is the end of the content I will be sharing, apart from anything that comes from these questions. So without further ado, thank you so much for joining us, and I really look forward to seeing you at the next sessions. So turning my eyes now to the question, Emily, thanks a lot. You've got, can you use AI to create an overview summary step based on steps entered into your Waybook? So yes, what you can do is actually, and this is a big optimization that's happening. You can make these documents based on context, but you have to put that context into that briefing window. So if, for example, we jump in here, and we want to create AI from here, you can essentially paste as much content as you want in there. So we see people actually pulling a transcript from a video, or perhaps creating a transcript from a Zoom call or something like that, putting that in, and then actually getting really comprehensive SOPs and procedures coming out from it. So it looks quite unassuming, this little text box, but yeah, you can put a lot of other content in there. To your point about whether or not you can create an overview or a summary step based on the steps you mentioned, if we actually go into our core piece of knowledge and information here, what you can do is you can actually use AI to optimize this. So let's say, for example, we highlighted all of this text. You can actually use an AI action to say, right, can we summarize this text? And actually, let me perhaps just do a second version of that. So we can summarize that text. And actually, if I do summarize, oh, thank you, Emily. You can't see my screen, which is which means that that was all useless. Thank you for letting me know. So yeah, basically what I was just showing there is we've got this step or this document perhaps. We can copy and actually paste that entire content, and then what we can do is we can highlight that text, use the in-text AI action, and then ask it to summarize that text down. And what it will do is it will then just give a summary of all of that information. And of course, if you pull that information from multiple steps, you can put that in. Just to give you a visual on what I was looking at before, is actually when we go into the AI creator, it's this unassuming text box you can put lots in. That's where we're seeing people putting transcripts and recordings and all sorts, but it is mainly text at the moment, but that is something that's changing very soon as well. So thank you very much. Thanks for your really engaging questions today. I'm going to just hang around for a few more seconds in case anyone does have any other thoughts or questions whilst we're all on the same call. But without further ado, I think that is everyone complete. So thank you all once again for coming. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day and your week. And I really look forward to seeing you at the next session, or of course, if you wanted to get in touch in between. Have an amazing one, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care now.